Hi, everyone. So often in workshops, I get the question about musical content and theory and how is it applicable not just to the IB program, but how might we make musical analysis more relevant and meaningful for students? So I'm going to share this little tool with you that I've used throughout the years, and I know several of you have used it out there in your teaching practice, and I thought I'd just review it real quickly with you. That's using inquiry in musical analysis. How can one approach musical analysis to make it practical and relevant for all students? So, in order for musical analysis to be meaningful, it has to have relevance to the students. We have to figure out a way to make it practical, to make it meaningful for students. But how might we do that? How might we not overwhelm students with theory and content and make it more applicable to what it is they're listening to? So one way about doing that is to enhance this area of inquiry in the music classroom. So for example, we could listen to an extract of music and ask yourself a question that begins with, I wonder why, or I wonder what. Again, no content driven, just an open-ended question. So in order to build relevant musical understanding, it is going to be important to challenge oneself and to ask questions or to develop this whole culture of inquiry in the classroom. So guided inquiry, how would it work and how might we use it and what are some tools that might help us? And I want to approach this from two standpoints. One is a more structured area of inquiry, a more teacher-directed area of inquiry. The second one is a more free or open-ended inquiry, which I call the ungoogleable aspect of inquiry. So in order for learning to be relevant, we need to avoid a few things. We want to try to avoid in teaching theory or teaching analysis, routine learning, memorizing for the sake of memorizing, teaching and learning for the tests, practicing because mom told us so, waiting to be told what to do, keeping to the rules. Well, you have to know some of the rules, but let's not be afraid to break rules. Let's not keep ourselves in a box, so to speak. Relevant inquiry includes making it personal to the student ownership of learning, questioning. The student is inspired to explore. The student is inspired to investigate. There's an experimentation with risk taking. There's challenging the student. What do you know? What don't we know? It's okay not to know, but then how are we going to find out? So that leads us to these tools, the scaffold tools of structured inquiry, and I call it me, ha, me, fo, stai, ko. And I know several of you have used it already, but I thought it might be useful just to reflect and review on it just a little bit right here. So let's go through it once. What do we mean by that? First of all, means, sometimes referred to as texture or timbre in music. Can you describe how this music is being produced? Again, that's sort of a structured inquiry that would require some content being addressed. Instrument, voices, group, solo, written, oral. It would lead, hopefully, to a more open-ended inquiry, such as, if so, what might this tell you about the piece of music? How would you put this together? Me, the meter. Can you hear any vision or organization of pulse within this music? Organized, unorganized, no meter, duple, compound, alternating, multi-metered. Again, by addressing these questions, you couldn't help but address content. Hopefully, by the structured learning, you would go to a more open-ended learning. If so, what might this tell you about where or when this piece was produced? What type of association could you make from these points? Me, ha, harmony. Can you identify any harmonic elements within this piece of music? Tonal. What does tonality mean? What does atonality mean? What are cadences? What's the difference between polytonal and bitonal? Or what's the difference between homophonic, polyphonic, and heterophonic? Again, through process, you couldn't help but address content in addressing these types of questions. And hopefully, you'd get to a more open-ended type of inquiry, such as, if so, what might this tell you about how or why this piece was put together? Me, ha, me, the melody. Can you describe any melodic patterns in this piece of music? Motifs, phrases, themes, symmetrical, asymmetrical, polyphonic. Is it a transcription? Again, these are basic, fundamental, theoretical tools that we use that would, of course, take some development and practice, but hopefully relevant application. If so, would you be able to recreate these in your own works by listening and identifying those in works that are structured by the teacher. Mi, mi, ha, mi, fo. Can you identify any type of form or structure in this piece? Are there sections, sonata, rondo, theme and variations, through compose, chorus, verse, chant, and response? Again, a lot of these types of forms would depend on the genre or style or area of the world of music that you're studying at the time. And this would, of course, be content-based. But again, hopefully relevant to the student. If so, do you recognize form in any music familiar to you? Can you transfer what you're learning from a structured inquiry to an applied inquiry, to an applied application to your own types of music creations? Mi, mi, ha, mi, fo, stai. Can you identify any type of style in this piece of music? Again, content-driven, takes time, Renaissance, Baroque, Classical, Romantic, 20th century as part of Western music, or what part of the world in terms of world music? Can you make associations between these types of styles and genres of music? If so, what might this tell you about the purpose of the music? Mi, mi, ha, mi, fo, stai, ko. Composer, or we could call it the performer. Based on what you hear in the music, could you take any guess as to who the composer or performer might be? Are there certain common characteristics of a certain time period? Are there certain characteristics of the part of the world? Are there certain relationships between the time periods and parts of the world? If so, would you be able to make assumptions as to why this music has significance? And would you be able to apply these assumptions to your own musical creations? Mi, mi, ha, mi, fo, stai, ko is a structured inquiry tool to help build entry points into musical understanding and address musical content. Again, this is highly structured, but hopefully a culture of structured inquiry leads to an open-ended or free inquiry. And what do we mean the difference between these two? Well, a structured inquiry, students follow the lead of the teacher as the entire class engages in one inquiry together. It's content front-loaded, thus, mi, mi, ha, mi, fo, stai, ko. The aim for the student is to select strong resources, to initiate and conduct research, to create learning evidence, to complete an authentic project. Hopefully, this leads to more what we call free inquiry. After this base is established, students choose their topics without reference to any prescribed outcome. Students provide their own essential question. They research a wide array of resources. They customize their own learning evidence, design their own performance tasks to demonstrate their learning. In other words, these questions become ungoogleable. They're drawing their own conclusions from what it is they've learned and applied. So structured inquiry to open-ended inquiry. In terms of the IB, what might that mean? Well, we have the areas of inquiry. Music for social, cultural, and political expression. How might the musical elements be used to express or communicate a protest song, a work of religious intention, a piece of national identity, a cultural, social, or ceremonial activity? Again, when you approach these different aspects of music from area of inquiry 1, you want to be sure that you're approaching these aspects from the standpoint of musical elements, an understanding of the elements and why they're relevant within the work. Area of inquiry 2, music for listening and performance. How might the musical elements be used to describe music associated with any particular style or genre? Absolute music, music for the sake of listening and enjoyment. Again, using the musical elements as the focal point in this examination. Area inquiry 3, music for dramatic impact, movement, and entertainment. How might the musical elements be used to produce music for a film, house dance music, music for a ballet and musical, music for theater, drama, or opera, music for advertising, music for an event. And finally, area of inquiry 4, music technology in the electronic and digital age. How might the musical elements be used to create, perform, or produce electronic music, digital music, synthesized music, or sampled music? Hopefully, we can get students on music technology to develop their understandings and the application of these musical elements in creating their own authentic pieces. So the inquiry-based teacher and the inquiry-based classroom, one needs to understand that a teacher is a teacher as well as a coach. The teacher is a learner with the student. The teacher is a facilitator. There are some questions that teachers just simply may not know and may need to find out with the student. The teacher is a networker. The teacher has a shoulder to lean on. The teacher is also vulnerable and is open to criticism. But this is a matter of developing trust and working relationships within the classroom. Well, anyway, I hope you found this a little bit helpful. I hope it's a useful tool for you to developing an approach to analysis and content in the class. For further support, questions, please feel free to go to the website, globalmusicconcepts.com, or contact Global Music Concepts at the email address there given. Good luck, everyone. Enjoy the journey, and I'll look forward to talking with you soon. Bye-bye.